I just filmed this video. This is my second time filming this video, which it was really good. I don't know what happened to it. It literally disappeared. But today I just finished a video about the Tinyan, and I wanted to quickly talk about. I think now that I got it out, it's more in my head probably. Anyway, I want to talk more about identity politics in the Black community and where I stand and how I identify and all those things. This is critiques and understandings of identity politics like FBA, Solani, Black Israelite, Hebrew, all those things. Aboriginal. I want to say that I don't generally subscribe to any of those things. I don't follow a religion. I'm agnostic. I have an ancestral altar, but my altar is not necessarily spiritual to me. It is more just a place to recognize that I have ancestors that went through things for me to be here, and a place for me to sit and meditate and reflect. If you are religious, that doesn't, that's good. Well, not good, but that's your life. I want to talk about identity politics. And something that's become more apparent in the community right now, especially on social media, like FBAs. I want to say that I feel like there are two kinds of FBAs. There are the people who don't want to be associated with POC, and there are people who believe that they're indigenous to this land, that all Black people are indigenous to this land. And I want to say that my critiques and understandings of both sides and why I don't necessarily subscribe to either of them all the way. First side, I understand not wanting to be lumped in with POC. I personally don't use the word POC very often in my daily life or in my understanding of myself and the community. And I think the biggest part of that and my efforts of rehumanization in my personal life and with other Black African American people that I talk to is understanding just because you're a minority in America doesn't mean that you're a world minority. I think that's the biggest thing you can do when it comes to decolonizing yourself is that knowing that there's always going to be more of us than there are of European white people, right? European descended. We'll say European descended because this is going to be one of my only serious videos. I only have plans to make 3 serious videos. I want to make one about racialization and I want to make one about just inter-community problems. Yeah. So I understand that side. I understand it. I can respect it some. But yeah, I understand not wanting to be locked in with the whole POC thing and everything like that. I don't think we're the same as other people of color. I don't think we have the same experiences. I don't think our history in America is the same. Probably only other people that we can really relate to are maybe indigenous people, but even then we can't really relate to them in the same way when it comes to the history of certain things. So yeah, that's the first side. The second side of FBA is with the whole we're all Aboriginals thing. It's not true. Period. But that we're all Aboriginals. Let's be clear. What is true is that Aboriginals exist. They did exist. That racialization and recategorization happened. And we'll get into that in a minute. That ancient African kings came here before Columbus, as well as Vikings, right? Came to the Americas. And it's something that they're getting more comfortable saying out loud, but it's something that many people knew for a while. And that combination is like, okay, yeah, there were Black people here before the mass trafficking event of the transatlantic slave trade, right? So there's that, but I don't think that makes that all Black people are Aboriginals. I think if you believe in the out of Africa theory of evolution, then you would understand that at one time everywhere in the world were Black people. That's when I get into it with like certain people who be like, oh, look at these photos of old Japanese tribes. They were black. And it's like, yeah, at one point, everybody was black. Everybody. Every single, like, if you believe how evolution works, everyone was black at one point. So it's not, you know, and I understand they lie to us. They lie to our history all the time. But it's not new. You know, everyone was black at one point. I think the anti-African sentiment of some, oh, we were never slaves, we're indigenous, part of the FBA movement, I do think it's divisive. I don't think it's helpful at all. But I do recognize the re-racialization, recategorization. And if you don't understand what I mean by that, my conversations with indigenous people, even before FBAs became a little bit more prolific, right, about blood quantum, federally recognized tribes versus non-federally recognized tribes, how it's all just a ploy to slowly kill indigenous people. People getting recategorized as Latino, as black, as white, right, when racialization was happening in America. These all had an effect. These all things really happened. These things are valid, right? And it's all a ploy to slowly kill specific groups of people. But I don't think that makes every single African American an Aboriginal or indigenous to this land. I am proud to be an African descended person, and an African alive, right? An African American. And I don't have any qualms with that. And I think people who do need to do a little bit more soul searching, in my opinion. This is my channel. This is my opinion, right? The Hebrew Israelite thing, all that stuff, as I said, I'm not religious. And so I have my own qualms with the religious side of it. But also I feel like there's also a lot of denial of self or a lot of confusion. I just feel like sometimes people are doing things the back way around. They're like, well, these Israelites were obviously black and Egyptians were obviously black. And it's like, yes, I understand that the history has been lied to you about certain things. But like, yes, at one point everyone was black. This is how there's more, you know, brown, black people on this planet than there are white looking people. There were even more, you know, hundreds of years ago. Hundreds of thousands of years ago. And so I just wanted you to keep that in mind. And so I think a lot of the identity politics and running around in circles and saying who we are and who we aren't in my opinion, is a trauma response. A little bit of waste of time. Because at the end of the day, we're not using this energy to do the things that we talk about. You know, Dr. Umar is an example. You know, he doesn't take care of his kids. The school is not built. But he has lots of time to talk about identity politics and who you shouldn't be dating and blah, blah, blah all day. And he's a reflection of the community in some ways. Even the people who want to do right are still perpetuating things that don't actually push us forward. When it comes to, like, I remember even when I was a kid, people were talking about, oh, why don't we know our history? Well, why aren't we, like, pushing? I mean, we're in the Trump era again, which is interesting. But why aren't we, even before that, and Biden, why aren't we pushing more legislation to teach proper history in school? You know, why is it the small minority of people pushing for that? Or we just talk about it, but we're not pushing it. I'm not saying go and march in the streets, like everyone's tired of marching, right? But like really get in there and do something about it. Or hosting your own histories or something, you know, in your spare time, what you can do with the community. I really need more citizen resistance to things that are happening personally in my life, right? And so there's that, you know, if you want to, why doesn't the community know more financial stability? My sister's an accountant. We talked about like getting something together and volunteering time to teach financial stability. You know, if you're in a black accountant, do something. If you have the time, right? If you have the time. If you only have the time to make a video or write something down, like do it. Get it out there for the community. You know, learning proper history, having financial literacy, mitigating food deserts, like more doing of things. And I don't think this is just an African American problem. This is an American problem of talking about things, complaining about things, and not really doing anything. My way, my personal life of doing something, this was a few years ago before my disability took over my life. And I have a disability, I have a physical problem. I used to volunteer at the African American Heritage Farm, and they were keeping, basically what this is, a community project where we're growing and cultivating foods that are either indigenous to an African or an African American diet, or traditional African American foods. So we're growing black-eyed peas there, we're growing okra there, we're growing all these things. And he's still someone I keep in contact with, even though I can't volunteer at the farm anymore because of my physical issues. And that's just something simple you can do in your life. I will go once a day, one day out of the week, because that's all I could spare at the time. Because at the time I had 3 jobs and I was going to school at the same time, and I still wanted to volunteer. I was a busybody. That's how my body is done with me. Just stuff like that, I saw a great little video clip thing or something about a woman who purchased a liquor store in the city, and where there was a food desert in a black community, and turned it into a small grocery store. And conversations about how we used to have so many small grocery stores, but then they were either pushed out or purchased by other groups and turned into liquor stores because they were more profitable, and because of blah 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 blah. When I say blah blah blah, I mean the government pushing certain things in certain areas, right? And you be able to get more alcohol than food in your community. But all she has is this small little liquor store building, and she turns it into a grocery store for her community. She's not becoming Mr. Walmart, but she's doing something. And I wish we had more focus on that than identity politics, in my opinion. So that is my video. I hope this time it doesn't disappear. And, comments down below. I'd love to hear your opinion on what I have to say, if anyone is actually even watching this. But it feels good to get off my chest. And subscribe, just mostly make a comment. I don't care if you subscribe. All right, thank you. Bye.